The moment Daisy finally told Agnes the truth about her birth mother in the Testament's Season 1 finale wasn't just shocking for Agnes. It honestly felt like one of those moments that could completely change the future of the story. Because for years, Agnes had been living a life shaped by lies, fear, and propaganda without even realizing how much of her identity had been stolen from her. Then suddenly, in one conversation, Daisy quietly reveals the kind of truth that turns someone's entire world upside down. But what makes this moment so interesting is that Daisy didn't tell Agnes the truth randomly. She didn't just wake up and decide to reveal family secrets for no reason. The timing matters. The emotions behind it matter. And when you really think about it, this scene tells us a lot about where Daisy is mentally, where Agnes is emotionally, and what might happen next. Before we really break this down, let's quickly recap what happened, because this scene carried way more emotional weight than people may have realized at first. By the time we reach this moment in the finale, things are already emotionally messy. Garth and Becca's wedding has happened, emotions are running high, and Agnes is dealing with the consequences of everything that has gone wrong around her. She feels hurt, confused, and honestly exhausted. At this point, Agnes still believes that although terrible things have happened, she has been trying to do what is morally right. Even if it cost her happiness, she believes she acted for the greater good. And that is exactly what opens the door for Daisy. When Agnes talks about her strong moral instinct, Daisy responds in a way that almost feels casual at first. She says Agnes probably inherited that strong moral instinct from her birth mother. Now, if you are Agnes in that moment, you probably think Daisy is speaking metaphorically. Maybe she means some distant personality trait or some random observation. But then Daisy completely changes the atmosphere of the conversation. She tells Agnes who her real mother actually is, June Osborne. And not just any version of June, the woman Gilead has spent years turning into a villain. Immediately, Agnes is stunned. Honestly, her reaction here makes complete sense. Because remember, Agnes has grown up inside Gilead's system. Since childhood, she has been taught a very specific story about the world. In Gilead's version of events, June Osborne is not some brave freedom fighter. She's dangerous, a criminal, a disruptive force, someone who challenged authority and threatened the social order. So when Agnes refers to June as the terrorist, that reaction should not surprise anyone. In fact, it would almost feel unrealistic if she reacted differently. Sometimes viewers forget that propaganda works best when people are raised inside it. Agnes is not intentionally being cruel here. She's responding based on years of conditioning. If an entire society constantly tells you someone is dangerous, especially from childhood, it becomes hard to separate truth from manipulation. But what I really liked about this scene is how Daisy handles Agnes in that moment. She does not get angry, she does not shame Agnes, and she does not try to force her to suddenly change her beliefs overnight. Instead, Daisy calmly pushes back against Gilead's narrative. She explains that June is not a terrorist. That label exists because June stood against powerful commanders and fought against a cruel system. In other words, Gilead turned resistance into criminality because oppressive systems almost always paint rebels as enemies. And honestly, Daisy chooses her words carefully here. She understands that if she simply attacked Gilead too aggressively, Agnes would probably shut down emotionally. People rarely abandon deeply rooted beliefs instantly, especially beliefs tied to identity, safety, and survival. So Daisy approaches Agnes differently. She makes it personal. Instead of talking only about politics or rebellion, Daisy connects June directly to Agnes. She basically says, your mother fought for what she believed in, and in many ways, you are already doing the same. That part matters so much because Daisy is quietly helping Agnes recognize something about herself. Agnes has always had a strong moral instinct. Even inside Gilead, she constantly struggles with fairness, cruelty, and injustice. She wants to do what is right, even when the system around her makes things complicated. So when Daisy compares June to Agnes, something important happens. For the first time, June stops feeling like some distant villain from propaganda stories and starts feeling human. Even more than that, she starts feeling familiar. And deep down, probably Daisy already knows Agnes has been questioning Gilead for a while. That is what makes the timing of this reveal feel intentional rather than random. By now, Agnes has already started noticing cracks in Gilead's so-called perfect world. She's experienced fear, manipulation, the harsh limitations placed on girls and women. She's watched powerful people abuse authority while pretending everything exists for moral order. Little by little, the version of Gilead she once believed in has already started falling apart. Maybe Agnes hasn't fully admitted that to herself yet, but Daisy can clearly see that. And that's why this moment feels so important. Daisy is not introducing doubt into someone completely loyal to Gilead. She's speaking to someone who has already started questioning things internally. Then Daisy drops another truth that honestly feels even more heartbreaking. She tells Agnes her real name is Hannah. And if we're being honest, this revelation may actually hit harder than learning about June. Because names matter. A name is not just something people call you. It becomes tied to identity, to memory, to belonging. Agnes has spent years believing she was Agnes. That name represents the life Gilead gave her, the rules she learned, the version of herself she adapted into. So hearing her real name is Hannah means something deeply painful. It means part of her life was stolen. It means someone else decided who she should become. And what makes the scene especially emotional is that Agnes doesn't immediately break down or react dramatically. Instead, she quietly processes everything. That felt incredibly realistic. Sometimes life-changing truths don't hit instantly. Sometimes people go numb first. Sometimes the emotional reaction comes later, in silence. And that's exactly what happens. When Agnes returns home, she looks through an old drawing from childhood and notices something small but devastating. The name written there is Hannah. That tiny moment says so much without needing dialogue. Back then, before Gilead completely reshaped her identity, some part of her still remembered who she was. She hadn't fully adjusted to the new life forced onto her yet. Somewhere deep inside, Hannah still existed. And honestly, scenes like this are what make stories emotionally powerful, because memory is complicated. Even when people try to erase your past, little pieces of yourself sometimes survive in unexpected ways. A childhood habit, a forgotten drawing, a name written without thinking. For Agnes, seeing Hannah written down suddenly turns Daisy's words into reality. This is no longer just some shocking story someone told her. There's proof. And once that truth enters her mind, there's really no going back. But here's where things get especially interesting moving forward. A lot of people may assume Daisy told Agnes everything purely out of emotion or because she felt guilty. I actually think there's more happening beneath the surface. Not manipulation exactly, but intention. By the end of the finale, Daisy sends a note to June saying something important. She admits that being in Gilead has changed her and that she feels deeply connected to the girls trapped in there. She also says they're much stronger than people may realize. That line stood out to me because it feels like Daisy is starting to understand something bigger. Older resistance efforts like Mayday have done incredible things. They've helped people escape, expose secrets, and fought against Gilead from the outside. But Daisy seems to be realizing something different. Real change inside systems like Gilead may also need to come from within. And who understands the younger generation inside Gilead better than Daisy? Nobody. She's lived among them. She knows how scared they are, but she also knows how intelligent and emotionally aware many of them are. Teenage girls inside Gilead have grown up under restrictions, fear, and control. They understand the cruelty of the system personally. And sometimes people who have the least freedom become the ones most desperate for change. Now, to be clear, the show hasn't explicitly confirmed that Daisy is building some official teenage resistance movement. That would be jumping too far ahead. But it definitely feels like Daisy may be thinking bigger than simply waiting for older resistance leaders to fix everything. She understands this generation differently. And if anyone could help young girls inside Gilead start quietly resisting from within, Daisy feels like the natural person to do it. What makes this even more emotional is the fact that Daisy and Agnes are sisters. That relationship changes everything, especially after everything they've survived already. There's a very real possibility that these two become extremely close moving forward because now they're connected by something deeper than circumstance, family. But at the same time, I don't think this relationship will suddenly become easy. Agnes has years of emotional confusion to process. Imagine learning that your mother is someone society taught you to fear. Imagine realizing that much of your identity was shaped by lies. That's overwhelming. There will probably be trust issues, confusion, maybe even anger. And honestly, that would make the story feel more realistic.
Agnes may wonder why June couldn't save her sooner. She may struggle with separating propaganda from truth. She may even resist parts of what Daisy is telling her because accepting reality means accepting that the life she believed in was built on manipulation. But one thing has definitely changed now. The truth exists, and once someone starts questioning a system built on lies, it becomes very difficult to fully believe in it again. That's why this conversation matters so much. It wasn't only about family secrets. This felt like the beginning of Agnes waking up. For years, Gilead controlled her story. They decided what she believed, who she trusted, and even what name she answered to. But now, Agnes knows something powerful. She's not just Agnes, she's Hannah. She's not just someone raised by Gilead, she's June Osborne's daughter. And whether she's emotionally ready or not, that truth may force her to make the biggest choice of her life.